I feel very fortunate in my career. You can tell I'm at the very beginning of it. The, I've had the good fortune of participating in what I think is the most powerful force in the universe, which is learning. In particular, the first part of my career, 12 years, was as a professor at Harvard Business School. And there, I learned about Socratic teaching. And it's my contention, I'm going to try to convince you, that the fact of digital dialogue, which is what we have had introduced into our human ecosystem in the context of generative AI, is the most powerful force that we've seen in learning since the book. And if you want to own your own intelligence, your own destiny, whether it's Ukraine rebuilding, a genius like the one we just had expressing himself or helping others express themselves, this notion of returning to dialogue, now with a hive mind, silicon-based conversation partner, is the most powerful thing to amplify the most powerful thing in the universe. We have a problem, and the problem that we have is a problem of lack of agency. And you can see this lack of agency in any of the statistics. So if you go to Gallup, Gallup does a survey as to how many people are engaged at work. The answer is 2/3 of people are completely disengaged at work. If you go and you look at the data in there, 1/6 of the people in any given organization are actively trying to pull that organization apart. It's just amazing the level of disengagement and lack of agency. And I think the fact that people aren't learning, growing, and driving forward is a big reason for that. In addition, if you look at the statistics in our high schools, contemplated suicide rates have gone up as much as 60% since before COVID to now. There's a whole malaise and a worry that people aren't going to have a future. Now, this milestone event of November 2022, in the long history of automation, which goes back over 150 years, there's been one way that the conversation has gone: from the animal into the machine, from the human into the machine. It's a one-way dialogue of extraction. And I believe Marx was right in terms of the alienation that that creates. November 2022 is the first time the machines talked back. The very first time. That was the birth of digital dialogue. How important is this? If you look at the growth of children, there's great research on the development of child brains between the ages of 0 and 3. Children who are dialogued with in an active manner, back and forth with their parents and siblings and so forth, their brains grow better, their frontal lobes grow better, their amygdalas are smaller, they can hold attention longer. This is fundamental. We are, and the entire society runs on dialogue and stories. That is our operating system. Conversation is our operating system. If you look at how this gets reflected on the most powerful force in the world, learning and teaching, of course, we started with Socrates. The folks who were the founding fathers 250 years ago, almost, here, how did they learn? They learned in dialogue. All of the founding fathers had tutors. Tutorials went back all the way to the ancients. How did we get away from that? Well, the Prussians, after getting beat up by Napoleon, got a little bit upset about that. So they created modern education with people in classrooms 1 to 30, age relevant, stacked like so many boxes in a warehouse, and industrialized education. Horace Mann was one of the leaders for the United States who went over, studied the Prussian model, brought it to the United States, and we industrialized education. We got rid of the dialogue. And the critical thing about dialogue is you're not learning content completely. What you're learning is content and questioning and listening. That is a major difference. What kind of impact does this have? 2 standard deviations better for tutorials versus traditional education. This is work from Bloom out of the University of Chicago in 1984. Think about that. You can take a bad student here and you make them better than the best student in conventional by tutoring them. The impact of tutorials is unbelievable. If you look at where this is going, Khan Academy is a leader in this. Khan Mingo, they started to actually have someone tutoring, watching the behavior of the student as they go through the different models. It's not just pointing somebody to a video anymore. It's really about a dialogue. Just as an illustration, I wanted to show you, I worked at PwC for a while. Good company. This is an instruction to the model to tutor a new tax manager just coming to PwC. So you've just been hired, you're probably getting paid $150,000 a year with a bonus potential of about 50. You know, you're new to the organization, and this says, you're an expert in onboarding new talent in large organizations, right? I'm a new tax manager, blah, blah, blah. Can you please tutor me on the history of PwC, put together a week-by-week professional development thing, then give me the ability to give to my manager how they should manage me over time, put that into a timeline, and then give me a way to evaluate that. So, Mike, if we could go to, just to give you an idea of how powerful these things can be, which is going to straight up ChatGPT-4. And what you'll see happen is it lays out exactly what I, as that tax manager, need to do. And I don't know if you've used these models in this way, but you can actually interrogate them or have multiple tutors tutoring you as you go through it. So go ahead and hit this in. So that's the prompt. And congratulations, history of PwC, right? Differentiates PwC from competitors. Goes down through distinctive features of the tax practice. Keep going down, if you would. Strategic imperatives, what I need to worry about, what's the context of my work. If you go down farther, my 90-day plan, week 1, onboarding orientation. Here's what review key, right? All you should do here, farther down, keep going. Week 5 to 6, 7 to 8, 9 to 10, deep dive into a specific project, keep going. Evaluation form, here's the evaluation that I want to be evaluated on. Professional organizations to join, what I should know as I start in my career. Clarity, charities. What charities should I join? Because if you look at influencers, they generally tend to belong to multiple kinds of organizations, like John is obviously a huge networker, influencer. Right, top 3 things that my manager is going to need from me. And this is just the beginning of my tutor that's going to onboard me into this complex organization, complex job as I think about my career. Like that. So if you want to own your own intelligence and you want to amplify your own career, the thing that's amazing about these models that people, unless you use them all the time, you don't understand. You have every kind of expert you can imagine at any level of expertise, at any level of specificity. So I say, gee, could you be more technical? Could you give me analogies? Could you make that simpler? Could you make it for a 5-year-old? And this is, as Ethan Mollick has pointed out, this co-intelligence is the stupidest co-intelligence we're ever going to have. So I believe that, first of all, organizations need to empower employees to do this. If you're running any kind of organization, and my folks can learn 2 standard deviations better than your folks, who's going to win that? 2 standard deviations. Do that. AI trained, AI builders, AI masters. People who can help other people build tutors. Now, of course, there's always a dimension that is missing. It's not another human being dealing with you and the emotion, but the amplification that tutors can get from digital tutors and how individuals can own their own intelligence by tutoring themselves is fantastic. Second thing, we have to revamp education. Forget Horace Mann. We have to go back to Socrates, but with technology. We have to create not a lockstep education program. We need to create an ability for the hive mind of students and machines together to move at their own pace, to grow and to learn. And the last thing that you should think about is all firms need to redo all their interfaces. AI is the new UI. The idea that this device, whether it's this screen here, that camera, my car, isn't going to have its own tutor built into it and can tutor you as to what's wrong. And just try this as a parlor trick if you want. If you have a problem with your car or a problem with your washing machine or anything, you put it into the model. It is, as far as I've found, better than the normal diagnostician who's coming into your house for $150 for that first visit. Put shortly, if you do not teach your children, your grandchildren, your employees, yourself, your loved ones, how to use these digital tutors you're missing out on the most important power that can grow their lives, increase their agency, and enrich the society at large.